Thank you, gentlemen and guns. Coming.
Hey guys, brand new podcast. It's a brand new Bertcast, and I'm losing my mind. I just got done with therapy. I opened a bank account with my wife. I'm trying to get more attached to our money, where I start growing as a human. My wife was going to come in and say something to you. There's something she'd like to say. It's not necessarily an ad, but she wants to say something. There's a guy online. I just found out about him. His name is Ryan Ray. Ryan Ray LA, I think on Facebook. He's walking across the country. If you go check him out, find his GPS, and find the guy and take a selfie with him. He's really interesting. I offered for him to stay. Here she is. I offered for, come over here. God, I'm fucking being aggressive right now. Yes, you are. I know, because because I feel, no, stop it. This is not your room. Don't fuck with that. It's cold. I know it's cold, but it's cold because two grown men are about to sit in here, and we get hot when we talk. She came in the other day, and she was like, turn the fucking AC off. I came in. It was sweltering in here. It was sweltering in here. It was sweltering in here. This guy's walking across the country. His name's Ryan Ray. Someone tweeted about him the other day, and I saw it. I thought it was interesting. He's at like 2,000 miles. Fitbit, you really fucking missed out. You should have had this fucking spot. And you're missing out with me, Fitbit. Someone tell Fitbit they're fucking missing an advertising opportunity, because on my show I constantly say, I'm at this, how many steps? Get over here. Get over here. Come over to this side. Well, the mic doesn't reach that far, Leanne. Okay, here's my wife, Leanne. She would like to talk to you for 2 seconds. Please don't hang up.
Hi, everybody. This is Leanne. I don't know what else to say. What do I say?
You want to talk
about? Podcast is free. It's free anywhere you download it from. So if you love the podcast, it would be great if you would buy a mug or a T-shirt or a book or a book. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to give it back to you. Buy a mug. We have Bertcast mugs. They're at bertcast.com, and they're fantastic. I drink out of them. But let me tell you something. Drink out of them the way I drink out of mugs. I have 3 mugs that I use all the time, maybe 4 or 5. But one of them is Joe Rogan's mug. I have a Joe Rogan Experience mug, and sometimes when I make myself a cup of coffee, I say to myself, I'm looking for a powerful day. And I believe that. And I had a powerful day yesterday, 2 meetings, and I had a cup of coffee in my Joe Rogan Experience mug. I've got a Fritz Dog radio mug that I have, but it's all faded out. And every time I think, I said, I'm going to fucking write today. That's a Fritz Dog mug. My other one is Late Show with David Letterman. That's just when I want to feel good about myself. I drink out of that one. I also have an owl, and I have one that's really big that my daughter's made me that has a lightning bolt in it. But use these coffee mugs. So whatever energy I give you, go to my website. Go to bertcast.com. Get yourself a Bertcast mug. And in the morning, have yourself a cup of Bertcast coffee. The guy I'm having on today has his own brand of coffee, Caveman Coffee, Tait Fletcher. I'm not a spokesman for it. I hope he brings some. He knows he's got cold brewed coffee. This is a little bit long. No, it's not even that bad. It's only 3 minutes. But Tait Fletcher's my guest. I should have waited till the end. But he has Caveman Coffee. It's fucking fantastic coffee. I've had some before. He's got the cold brewed Caveman Coffee. And I hope he does at least, because I'm saying it now. But get yourself a mug. There's also other stuff at bertcast.com. Right, Leanne?
Yes, also at bertcast.com. You can buy T-shirts or autographed books, for Life of the Party books, or autographed, what are those things called? Baseball cards. Yeah. Bert Kreischer baseball cards with our dog Mona. Pretty cute card. Yeah. So, yeah, go to bertcast.com or bertbertberk.com and make your purchase today.
And who fulfills those purchases, Leanne?
I do.
So if there's something special you want, just put it in there and Leanne will put it in?
Awesome.
Hey, wait, I got a better idea. If for an extra $5, Leanne will go into my closet and take one of my shirts out of my closet and put it in there. Okay, never mind. Forget it. Never mind. I was just trying to clean out my closet. All right. The podcast is about to start. I'm going to make myself some lunch, and he should be here in any second. All 6'4" of him. All pirate life of him. I don't know if you follow this guy on Instagram, but you should. He is a fascinating guy. He's been traveling the world as a stuntman. I watched him get murdered in John Wick the other night. Gun to the head. He's one of Rogan's best friends. He's one of Ari's best friends. Ari always tells stories about him wrestling him in a hotel room and pinning him against the wall. And he does have one of my favorite fight stories ever that hopefully I'll get him to tell. There's a lot I want to learn about this guy. I want to talk about everything. Ladies and gentlemen, Today's guest, you heard it earlier. I'll say it louder right now. Tait Fletcher!
This is
It's that one's so fucking smooth you'd be shocked. I always say bungee jumping when done right is really enjoyable. But when it's done wrong, oh fuck. That's a fucking beast. Let me make sure I got the things recording.
This is the nicest podcast room I've been in.
It's not bad, right?
Great.
Here, that's your mic talking that?
Beats the shit out of Ari Shafir's apartment.
I've done one with Ari at the Comedy Store when he was way too fucking high.
Oh, did you ever do? Oh, I think I heard that one. When you guys were out front and there was some heckling going on, maybe of.
Comic didn't like me.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. That levels sound good. God,
This is beautiful. Did you build this?
No. The TV show Mancave did it for me.
Really?
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it.
God damn, that is great.
Yeah, they came in and literally put more money than we couldn't afford this. I mean, you just walked through my regular house.
Right.
So
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. It's changed my life. I mean, it's changed my life in many ways. I always say this out loud because I want this to happen, but I don't know what's going to happen in my life.
Right.
I would love for the next thing to happen with me, where I could move out of this house, and I would like to maybe sell this to a young comic or a young artist.
Help 'em out.
Yeah, and give them the mojo that this offered me, because this offered me amazing, dude. I've been dying to try this caveman coffee.
Really?
Well, yeah, because you're on all the good podcasts. Like, all the good podcasts are advertising caveman coffee.
Just have some good friends, man. It's really nice.
You really do have good friends,
great.
man.
It makes all the difference for sure.
Do you know what people like? Do you ever wonder what people say behind your back?
Not too much. I mean, I have a little so I used to fight, so I have like an idea of that, because there's a lot of people that will tweet you. You love that?
Yeah, this is fucking
nice,
awesome.
huh? Yeah,
this is fucking awesome.
it's and so that you'll see a lot of cell phone soldiers that'll let you know what they think on message boards or whatever. But so you hear the worst of the worst, and but so then it all becomes like make believe. It's all kind of pretend, and I don't really concern myself with a whole lot about all that. I'm more concerned with where everybody's going,
It's so funny that you don't. But there's nothing bad said about you.
Really?
Yeah, like I literally had a conversation with Ari today.
He's back from Scotland.
Yeah, he's in New York.
Beautiful.
And
man, that guy. He's a shining star.
And Joe says the same thing. Like Joe's.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe's like a brother to you, but it just is. Oh, he's the greatest fucking guy in the world.
That's
You got to
so
meet him.
nice.
It's so funny. I saw you get shot in the head on John Wick the other night.
Yeah. But my friend, that was a cool thing too, because that movie that was it was all guys. It was like I was in a old boys club of like all the dudes that did The Matrix, and so
It reminded me of The Matrix.
So the guy that was the director, two guys, Chad Stahelski and Dave Leitch, they're partners, and they own this stunt crew. It's really like high, all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Avengers, all the best guys really are training there, and they run this production company that puts all them out there. But Chad was Keanu's stunt double for years.
Yeah.
Then he became a stunt coordinator, and then now that was his first directorial debut, he and Dave. And then all the guys that they hired on it, all the stunt coordinators, second unit directors, all that, were all guys that were in the original Matrix. And so it was like a homecoming again with all these kinds of heroes of mine really in that whole world. And so then they're like, hey, we got this little role, you want to do this? And then my buddy comes up to me, he goes, and we trained jiu-jitsu a lot. He was a student of mine for a while, and he goes, hey, how durable is that beard? And I'm like, I thought, what an odd question. I'm like, well, we can't light it on fire, but like, he says, I'm just going to have Keanu grab it and drag you across it. I was like, awesome, that's going to be great. So as quick as it was. And then my partner with the coffee, Keith Jardine, he's in that, he gets shot.
Keith Jardine, how do I know Keith Jardine?
He used to fight in the UFC also. He was the Dean of Mean, they would call him. Now I call him the Dean of Caffeine, of course. But really great guy. We've been training partners for, 15 years or something. And then it's weird, like the segue from lifetime to lifetime kind of. And I look at like different parts of my life as like I've really lived a lot of different lives, and one of those was in the fight world, and like all those guys are my brothers, and the fidelity and the kind of the brotherhood of all that was really what the best part of it all is, I think. And training, I really like to train, and But going out from that, and I go, what are you going to do now? And you're looking into this film industry, and you know, you have to look, how are you going to make any scratch? What are you going to do to pay the bills? And it really became evident, like I've got to change things, and I've got to confront this new thing. And how do you kind of circumvent the obstacles that are going to be ever present in the way? And a lot of that was going away from a lot of the dudes that were my brothers for years. And you go, well, they're on this path, and I always think about it like it's a weird thing. Like everybody wants to be down for their neighborhood or for their, you know, all their old homies and all that stuff. And I'm with all that. And there's people in my life that are for sure transcendent of all of that, and that I'm connected with forever. But at the same time, if you want to be a physicist and I want to be an artist, and we hang out together all the time, you're not going to get to be a great physicist as quickly as you could, and I'm not going to get to be a great artist. Like, you need to hang out with people that are going in the direction you're going, and really looking at that. And I go, fuck, I really need to be around creative people that want to make a mark in this way, and that kind of, it's like with the coffee or with whatever business that I touch. It's like I never really think about them as businesses. I think about them as movements of like of how do you raise consciousness around the world around you? How do you supplant sustainability or global unification under a product name? And how do you go, okay, these people, Syrians aren't really different than Americans, aren't different than Nigeria, like, and like that becomes the larger context of like what life is in that way, I think. And so anyway, that's kind of so anyway, the nice thing about that, I guess where I was going with it, is that it's dope because Keith and I came back together then after this long fight companionship that we'd had, and then we came back through coffee and then in films, and we work a bunch together, and so he's kind of my life partner.
It's interesting. I said this, I mean, I don't want to get into why I thought this, but today I thought, last night I thought, so if this was taken away from me, like the stand-up, where would I go? And I got really panicked. I was like, I got all my eggs in this basket. It's me and my words, and like, you know, let's just say, and I pray to God this never happens, and I pray to God that I have the resiliency, or at least the career behind me, that people would go, Bert's a good guy. He didn't mean what he said. Like, you know, you see people misspeak. Sure. You know, say I'm drunk and I say say some. I would never say a racial slur, but I say like. But
that's what you were thinking. That's all you're thinking.
No. You know what I'm saying? That was Jonah Hill when he called the guy. He's like, suck my dick, F word. You know, like what if I said that? What if I said that? And then I gotta come out with a mea culpa. That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's so weird though. All that stuff too is like, well, because what's his name? The guy that was on Seinfeld, right? He smashed himself out. Like that's like the end of him
forever.
Right? Michael
Richards.
And
but he had the heist money. He had the heat money, so he could fucking disappear like Robert De Niro.
Still, that thing that. I mean, it's kind of like that thing about the worst thing that somebody can do to you in prison is put you in isolation, you know, and that thing, he's put himself on an island where it's kind of like that's the danger. So that's the thing too, is like, that's the danger of not having friends. And that's the danger of like where Hulk Hogan is or something like that. If you become
fucking
this
Hulk Hogan, that's a great example,
right? That I don't know. I always look at it, and I look at Joe and Duncan and Ari, and like you look at this crew of guys, Eddie Bravo. And the beautiful benefit to that, for sure, Keith, Lacey Mackey, my other partner in the coffee, has been about calling each other on their shit. It's uncomfortable to have friends sometimes, because the friends that are really valuable will say uncomfortable things to you. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier today, and it was a woman, and she was like, oh, this girl or that girl, like talking about girls that are like, interested or said that I was flirting with them or something. I said, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't even know who that is. And I said, but this is one of those funny things that happens sometimes when they're like, oh, I know Tate or something, and not like I'm like in this small little town, like there's gossip amongst hens, you know?
Oh, a woman did this, not to stop the story, but like a woman did this to my wife at CPK.
Right. Oh, I know Bert.
She goes,
2 years ago. It's probably before you guys knew each other, though.
She said, my wife said, God damn it, I wish. No, we were married. My wife's picking up dinner, and she said to someone, the girl at the thing, she goes, yeah, my husband's a comedian, maybe. And maybe that's how it started or something.
Right.
And she goes, oh, really? Who's your husband? Or, oh, something comedian. Oh, who's that? Bert Kreischer? And she goes, oh, my God, I'm great friends with Bert.
Right.
And my wife went, what's your name? And she goes, what? She goes, I'm his wife. And then the girl was caught, like, embarrassed.
Right.
And was like, oh, I don't, but that's the way we work in Hollywood. Right. Is this almost like superfluous bullshit of like if someone said, up until today, we didn't really know each other.
Right.
But if someone said, you know Tait Fletcher, I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, I know Tait.
Sure.
But that's also because I follow you on Instagram and I've been tracking
it's
you
weird
for like,
how you get to know each other like that, right?
It's like, dude, I'm dying to find about when you went down to fucking South America to shoot that movie.
Right.
Like there's certain things that I know about you, but I don't know. Anyway, go back to your story about the girl. Like,
anyway, yeah, just it's that silliness that goes on where you're like, it's like people that are like, oh, I got a real problem with the way George Clooney is behaving in this situation. It's like, George Clooney doesn't know you. Shut up. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, just cut it out. Like, I know you're trying to attack greatness so that you seem relevant. Stop that.
Attack greatness so you seem relevant.
And there's that whole thing. But like, I was telling this woman, I go, the problem is that nobody calls anybody on their stuff. And like, you don't ever call any of those people out and go, I mean, you can see your dumpy, frumpy friend and be like, oh, no, you look hot, girl. You're going to turn some heads tonight.
Yeah.
And that you're biting your tongue saying that. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
How about you help her out and go, you look a little like diabetes, and maybe we should tighten up your game a little bit and look towards excellence. And like, and that isn't everywhere.
Look towards excellence is such a brilliant statement.
Well, wherever that is, I look towards and so I can't do that on my own because I'm a lazy fucking slovenly dude on my own. Like I need people that I aspire to be, and so that's when I bring up whether it's Joe or Ari. Like I look at Ari moving to New York. How brave is that,
dude? It's so brave.
So brave, man. He's in the thing where he's in a sweet spot. Really, I'm going to open for Joe Rogan wherever he goes, and this and that. And he goes, but then I don't always want to be an opener, dude. I want to go out and I want to be able to carry my own weight.
Even more, and I can't say this.
Amazing.
I hope Ari listens to this because I don't know if I've ever said this to him. I definitely haven't said this to him because I don't say this to anyone. I haven't said this to anyone ever. This is like something that I keep secret. I just got out of therapy like 15, 20 minutes ago, so I feel very vulnerable. But like, it is very difficult for an established comedian to go hat in hand to a club that he doesn't work at and say, I would like to start working here. Case in point, the Comedy Store. I always liked hanging out at the Comedy Store. I always liked the Comedy Store. I always thought the vibe was interesting and it was more my style than the improv. And twice, maybe 3 times, I've gone to the Comedy Store hat in hand and been rejected every time.
Really?
As recent as a couple months ago. And I was with Al Madrigal. Al Madrigal went and said, Bert should be a regular here. By the way, I don't need this to fulfill my ego.
Sure.
Maybe I do. I don't know. But I don't do sets in the town much anyway. And I'm when I come in town, I try to stay sober. And like that's my struggle. Mm-hmm. Is like I get off the road and I'm like, fucking clean your shit up, lose weight, get healthy.
Right, dial it in.
Yeah, and so, but it fucked with my head when the guy said we are backlogged, and he wasn't saying it as a dick, but he was like,
"Was that Adam?"
I don't. And by the way, there's another reason I don't know who I talk to, but but he used to work at the Tempe Improv. He's a cool dude, and I know him, and he likes me. But he's like, we're so backlogged with people that should be working here, like bigger names than you, that you just got to give us a time to get up and running. And I was like, fine, but it's still a no. And I was like, fuck it. I don't have that in me to do that anymore. I just don't have it.
Continue to try
to go back to the Comedy Store and go, hey man, how about now? That's not in me. That's dead.
Right.
I don't have that, and I need to protect the shit I got inside me to help me get through the part that makes money.
Right.
But I was so impressed with Ari. Like, I can't even say this, but like, I don't have what he has.
It's bravery. He's got a courage in him.
And Ari is fucking like, oh, dude, whatever. I don't know. Who gives a fuck?
Yep.
There's a lot of clubs I don't bet. Ari, the way he fucking literally just glances over shit. But I was so not proud of him, but I admired that, like, fuck it. I've always wanted to be a New York comic. I always wanted to see what it's like doing a New York comic. Moving to New York and watching guys that are, whatever list you want to put it on, but I'll say it for real, below him.
Yep.
Working these clubs and then feeling they have domain over him because he hasn't passed yet. And then where does that put you in your head when you go to sleep at night? It's one of the fucking bravest things I've seen a comic do.
He's dope. I mean, and leaving and going, I feel like I've exhausted this town. Something would have popped for me here if it were going to. I'm known, and I'm going to go over to this coast and do. That's so badass, because I'd always looked at comedy too, like the way I started it just because I would tour with Joe and whoever went on the road with him, and so I got to see a ton of comedy.
Yeah.
And really, I always would like to go early and appreciate the open micers because to me, those are the bravest guys in the room. Like they're in there trying, and then then as I go on, because it looks easy when you or Joe or somebody is up there and like you command the sway of hundreds or thousands of people with your voice, like that's a crazy amount of control. But like when you see guys that stay good comics go out and eat shit because they're trying brand new stuff, I go, you got to be open micer all over again. Like you're steadily in an open mic state. You can't ever be like, I've got this in a way. And so you have to have this huge confidence, but yes, also this vulnerability that is saying like, well, I'm going to try this one and I'm not sure. And that's fucking rad. And I think that's the place of beating the ego down where it takes in order to make new material, right? It's like, it's easy. Like, cause Eddie Murphy or whatever, or whoever it is, that's like huge Leviathan, like you're not supposed to suck. But to get better and to be good, he has to come out and suck.
For him to come back, he's got to go out and really suck for a year.
For a long time.
Yeah, and some people can create that hour and they can't do it. What was it like going from like a place of fucking hardcore armor, a fucking cage fighter, to like auditioning?
Oh, and the thing is, to me, it's this. I've always trained with savages, so it was like, you're going to go in and you're going to have your ass handed to you. I mean, I'm in a room with, like there was a lot of talent, like smaller guys, like St. Pierre or whatever, like which was like that's a different kind of like that's this way smaller dude than me, but like guys like Rashad, Nate Marquardt, Keith Jardine, like that are there regularly, like those are my guys, and it's like, and they are fucking savage, you know, and that was another thing I looked at too. In that, I mean, I kind of got lucky to get thrown in. I mean, I've been so fortunate, but like to be in a position where I started way older. Both Keith and I think we had our first professional fight at like 31 years old or something like that. Like,
wait, how old are you?
It was I'm 43.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
God, you crammed a bunch of adulthood in.
Crazy, dude. So anyway, we did all, you know, we ran this course and I'm thinking about these, and I'm like, these guys aren't the best in the world and you're not them. And so at the top level, you're mediocre. And I was like, okay. So that and so guys that fight that really go, you've got to have the audacity to be like, I'm going to be champion no matter what. Like, and I was like, I don't really, I've got too much of a knowledge about the reality of this situation to think that about me. And this was always like, for me, like fighting was always like an expression of like, look, who are you now in this horrible, very specific, you're naked in front of all your friends, enemies, people waiting for you to fall, your mom, everybody. Who are you in this makeup when you may get dominated in the most primal way by somebody else? Or vice versa. Like who are you under that kind of pressure and leading up to that? And like, are you going to be able to exact your art in the way that you've been training to? Or like, and so it's kind of like that no pressure, no diamond. And I would always seek out huge amounts of pressure to put myself under. And that was my training, and that was my expression really as a fighter. I started off with stick fights. I've done literally hundreds of stick fights where it's you and me, and I've got a stick and you've got a stick, like a 30-inch rattan stick, and a face mask so you don't cut your eyes, and we go. And you just fucking, and you go, you're trying to block and hit and not be hit, and if the fight goes and you tack, that's how I got into jiu-jitsu. If you crash, like it gets too hot and you're stung and you get hurt and you tackle me and now we're on the ground, and so now you better know jiu-jitsu or you're going to be lost. You're like a guppy.
Wait, where can I watch a stick fight match?
I don't know. I don't know if they're on YouTube. There's a ton. We've got a ton of tape. The group called the Dog Brothers is who I fought with. And I fought with a guy named Arlen Sanford that was my teacher. He was one of the founding members of that. And we would come out from New Mexico. We'd come out and smash California dudes.
Wait, how do you get into...
And dudes from all over. Dudes from Switzerland would come, Canada, everywhere.
Like, how do you get into stick fighting? Like,
I just got lucky. I met this guy that he was a Muay Thai guy, and I was looking for something to do, anything to do, like outside of my head, like couldn't shut my head up. And
wait, how old are you at this time?
I was 23, I guess.
What were you doing at
24.
like 2 days before you found stick fighting?
Well, I'd gotten locked up on a bank robbery charge like earlier that year, I guess, or the year before.
Okay, then let's go fucking a month before this. Wait, tell me about this. I know nothing about this. Is this, unless you don't want to talk about it?
No, man, it's fine.
Is this stuff that you fucking kind of distance from?
I mean, it is, everything is what it is. You know what I mean? So I don't hide from any of it. But it's like, yeah, I grew up in northern Michigan and a great family, and I love to drink and get high, and I like that so much that my world becomes that, and I just sell dope and have a lot of, one of those really true to form guys that's like, you've got so much potential. And that, like my sister would always tell me years later, she's like, Tate, don't date anybody based on their potential. And I was like, I know that's right, because I know that all that potential for me ends up in a federal penitentiary or a rehab center or something. And so that was kind of like, I just hung around with a bunch of colorful folks and was one, and we got into a lot of different scenarios like that. And one of them, it was I'd overdosed like maybe a month before that. I'd gotten really sick. I'd been sober for about a year or something, and then I had a really destructive relapse where I thought that things were going to be different this time, and they weren't.
Is that how all relapses go?
I guess. I mean, I think the thing is, the danger for a real alcoholic is that you think that it'll be different this next time. Like, it can't possibly go bad, because I see all these other people that are fine with it, that there's impunity to it. And so, like, before it goes, you never think it's going to go south. You never go like, fuck, we're going straight to the jail right now. Like, you don't think that. You're like, I'm just going to have a few beers and have a good time. And, there's a great saying that the man takes a drink, the drink takes a drink, then the drink takes the man, kind of. And so my choices would get really limited, and I'd get ideas that maybe weren't the best ideas that I'd be like, this is a great idea. And so anyway, that was the last time I'd run into a horrible scrape like that. And it was a life-changing event for me, I would say. I mean, things really altered a lot, and I go, you got to do something different in your life. Your mom's looking at you in 5-point restraints in an orange suit, and you're behind glass, and like the whole thing. And I was like, this is where you thought your life would always end up, and congratulations, asshole. Here you are. And
did you get a panic attack when you get up on a 5-point restraint?
No.
Oh, so I'd be like, please don't do this. I'll do whatever you want. Just get me out of this.
I'm good in. From a lot of this life, I'm really like in. Then it went into cage fighting, jiu-jitsu tournaments, whatever. I react very well under high pressure, kind of. I don't know, like in that chaos. Like I'm good there.
Really,
like that's where I like to live. And so that was always, I would never get flustered or weird. Like, I'm great there. And that's when I got into stunts. I'm like, oh, this is good. It's like that, it's like, except it's different than a fight, because you walk into like stunts and you go, okay, what's going to happen is this bus is going to drive by. You're going to jump off the roof onto it. And, okay. And so, or there's going to be a car driving. You're going to walk in between two cars. You're going to step into the road, and then it's going to hit you, the car that's driving by. And so you're walking in, it's not like you're going to go, okay, you're going to go out there and you're going to throw a jab, and then you're going to come back and you're going to feint, and then you're going to get head kicked. It's not, You're not expecting to get head kicked ever when you get head kicked, if that happens, you know what I mean? Whereas in the stunt world, you're walking into the wrecks knowing that the wreck is there and this is supposed to happen. And also, don't make it look graceful. It's got to look fucked up. Like, it's like, it's
you don't want to be like this. You want to be like, okay.
So in those instances, like, it was all those things were easy segues for me. But as far as like, that was what led me into all that, and I needed something. So that's how I found stick fighting. Was like, I needed something that was highly adrenalized, that centered me right now. Because if you're not present in the moment, it was like my first real experience with what meditation felt like.
Do you meditate?
But like where you need to be steady in the moment, or you're unconscious. You're going to get clunked in the head with the stick, and you're going to go down. And so, like, that was my first real experience that I could put words to, and I go, oh, this is where you're hyper-present. This is where all the world is one, and you're here, and it's just fucking energy swirling around you, and everything is the same. And it wouldn't happen without this guy that's swinging the stick at me. It wouldn't happen without me, and you need to be right here now, and so does he. And there's something so powerful in that for me. I was just like sprung on fighting and combat since then. God. And so then I jumped into it. And then I started grappling and got really good at jiu-jitsu. And then we took tournaments. We would go everywhere. And then when the opportunity came up to do stick fights, we were like, fuck yeah, let's do that. because all the other fights are like, you're going to fight several times today, and you don't know who it's going to be, and there's no weight class. And versus you're going to go into this fight against this guy at this weight on this date. And it's like, oh, okay, that's way easier. In a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was kind of that. And then while I'm doing that, I ended up getting a SAG card and getting into acting because I was working in a nightclub. I get called. One of my guys calls me in the front door and says, hey, there's these guys up here, they want to talk to you. And I go, okay. And I go up to the front. And you never really know what that means when you come out. And here's like 5 big black guys. And they're like, hey, what's up? And I go, hey, I'm Tate. What's going on? And they go, hey, well, we're doing this film. We work for Master P. And we need some big white boys for this movie. And I go, all right, cool. And I was like, I'll get a list and we'll come out. And so anyway, me and
what was the movie? Was that the movie?
It's called Lockdown.
Oh, well, I think I'm a big Master P fan.
Like in 2000.
Yeah.
He put out like 4 movies a year.
He did the one with Eddie Griffin. Did you ever see that one?
I don't know.
Oh, I saw that one too.
There's another comic that's in this one. He plays he's in a wheelchair. A black guy. I forget his goddamn Mike. It's not Mike Epps. I don't know. I'd have to look.
Yeah.
We can look.
I'll look, yeah.
But anyway, so I went out there, and that's where I got a SAG card. I worked for a month on it. I got paid like $10,000, and I was like, holy fuck, this is awesome. And then the guy, Keith Willard, he was the stunt coordinator on it, and he goes, dude, because they just conflated everything. It's like, you're an actor, but also you're going to fall off this building, and you're going to get in these fights. And like, it's just like, whatever. And then they go, and only on the days when you speak or when you do a big action, are we going to pay you as the SAG minimum? Other than that, you're going to get paid as an extra. I go, okay, whatever. And then I had to call SAG about my check about something. They go, oh no, they can't fucking do that. They're going to pay. And then they paid me for the whole thing because they're going to pay me like a third or something of like, it would have been like, that's ridiculous. You're hired as this actor on, like that's what you get paid for.
Yeah.
So anyway, did that, and then Keith was like, dude, you should come to LA. And this was like in 2000. This is right when I just started doing like submission grappling and jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he goes, you ought to come out and just live at my house, and there's a bunch of work, and da-da-da. I go, I'm just doing this thing, and I just a kid from Michigan, like going to being in the movies, that's unrealistic.
We're in Michigan. I'm going to Michigan.
I grew up in Alpena on the shore of Lake Huron, which is not a place that you'll go if you're going for people that have money.
That's in the UP?
No, but northern, it's up on the shore of Lake Huron.
Okay, yeah,
it's like maybe a couple hours north of Saginaw.
All right, yeah. I flew into Saginaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
I flew in. I'm going to. Is it Saginaw Island? What's the island?
Mackinac Island.
Mackinac Island.
Yeah. Well, I'm south of there.
Yeah. And so we're going into Michigan. We're doing a bunch of stuff in the UP.
That is awesome.
But I just came back from there. Like a couple months ago.
Mackinac Island is fun.
And we're going to a brewery. I love Michigan. I really love Michigan. The joke I make is that there's more things to do in Michigan during the winter than Eskimos have for the word snowflake.
There is.
Like, it's so fucking fun.
Ice fishing and snow machines and all of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back in November and go deer hunting. Like, that's kind of my thing is like November 15th is such a big deal in my hometown, like, for deer hunting that, like, there's no school. Like,
really?
The teachers aren't showing up. The kids aren't showing. People, they're just like, we give up. We'll just call it a holiday.
That's
like it was awesome. Anyway, so yeah, that's where I grew up.
So you get into acting almost simultaneously with kids.
Yeah,
right?
And then I just kept. I worked in that club for a while. I worked on a couple little things that came up, and then I moved out here and like, I think it was whenever it was like 2004, 2005, whenever the Longest Yard was. I had, and that's where I met Joey Diaz, was on The Longest Yard. And he's rapping the whole Ready to Die album, 90-degree weather at 7,000 feet in the middle of a prison yard. And I'm like, this fucker's going to die right here. Like, he is 400 pounds of love, just fucking screaming Biggie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my God. And so that, like, my relationship with him precedes all those guys. Like,
really?
I met Joey, and then we became buddies, and me and my girlfriend, our whole intent was like, okay, we got to get him chlorophyll, get him a lot of water, make sure he doesn't die here. That's all we're doing. And he is dope, and we've been great friends since then. And then I moved with that movie out here. I'd had I don't know, 3 or 4 pro fights, I guess, since then. And then I was like, fuck it, I've done it's kind of like Ari in LA. It's like, I've done what I can do here. I don't see this progressing anymore, and I don't like to coast, and so I'm going to go. And we came to LA, and And then that whole part of the story started, and it's just been one thing after the other. But like when you say, what would I do with it if whatever happened and I didn't get to be a common? Like, isn't Tracy Morgan? Didn't he just get in a horrible accident, get a brain injury? Right? Like,
I think so.
I saw his stand up after that, post that accident, and I think it's probably really good for his brain to retrain it for the memorization and the going through. Like, it's probably great therapy in a way, but like. That kind of stuff I couldn't imagine, and I started thinking about that stuff just in traumatic brain injury as far as fights go and all that stuff too. And so I'd seen a lot of guys when I decided to get out of it, and I'd seen one of the guys that was on the Ultimate Fighter with me too, and he got hurt really badly. We got knocked out several times inside a round, and I just was like, man, it's not. They don't even know where that goes, like how bad it gets. And so we've been researching a lot of that. I'm going to go actually get my brain mapped in the next week or two in Dallas at a center.
Are you really?
Yeah. Like I'll park, like it's like stuff comes up where you got these memory blanks and this and that. And if there's something wrong, I want to be able to.
Yeah, but
I don't want to hide from it.
And I haven't been knocked out a bunch.
Right.
Like I literally. And
so the last time I went to New Mexico, I have a car that I leave there. I have a home there, and then I have a place in Venice, and I have a car in each place, and I left, and I was like coming out here to work on this show Westworld for HBO, and I knew I'd be here for a long time. So I just get a ride to the airport. It's an hour from Santa Fe to the airport, and so that's what I do. And then I came back, and my mom's there, and she came and picked me up and at the airport, and I'd been gone 2 months. And I went back to Santa Fe, and I go to my driveway, and my car's not there, and I call a guy that rents from me. I go, where's my car? He goes, last time I saw it, you were in it. And I go, oh, all right. And then I go to the gym. I have a gym there and not there. And like, this is weird. And then my jiu-jitsu coach, the guy that coaches at the gym, Ruben Rivera, his girlfriend had left. And she says, oh, I parked by Tate at the airport. So I parked my car and left it at an airport, and no recollection of it. I went back to the airport, and there's my car, and it's $500 in parking or whatever it is. That's how, and it sounds like to me that's a huge amount. In LA, that's like 3 days. There were 2 months of parking,
Yeah.
And so there's stuff like that.
So they're bigger. They're bigger than just being like, what's that guy's name?
And it's different stuff like that. Like I could work out with you every single day. We train every single day together. I know you. I like you. I know Bert Kreischer. I could say that. And then I go, I don't know his name. What I can picture him, and where is he? And what letter do I go at and face? Like there's that kind of stuff. And I'm good. Like I'm like real cognizant of how fortunate I am. I know a lot of guys that aren't like that. I know a guy. Like anyway, there's a lot of that stuff, and then there's a bunch of my friends are in special forces stuff, and there's a lot of TBI in that from explosions and things like that. And so
I wonder. I
just want to go find out more.
It's good to get
have a baseline, right? And then in 5 years, I can go back and go, well, at least we have this baseline, because in 5 years, if I don't do anything and I go and check it out, that will be what the baseline is, and that isn't going to help me. So I want to be proactive about my own health.
Ever did drugs or alcohol? You seem so fucking put together. My whole thing was when I have heart disease in my family, so I went in to get a CT scan where they find out how much blockage you have.
Yep.
I walked in, and I'm a big panicker, and I was panicking. I was visible that I was upset, and I didn't want to be there. And this old black woman, they're the best. I love black women.
She was a nurse, intake nurse.
She's an intake nurse, and she said, let me tell you something, honey. It's better that you're walking through those doors than us rolling you through those doors. And I thought, she goes, the fact that you're walking in, that means we won't have to roll you in for a long time.
That's so
and I was
nice.
like, fuck, that's right. It's amazing, like little statements like that, little angels in this world that kind of go, drop something on you, and you're like, yeah, I'm glad and then I was totally fine with my heart, but I'm like, I'm glad I got a baseline. I know where I am right now. It's a brilliant statement. More people need to do that with life, with especially with health.
I mean, the whole thing is, I look at it and I go, why would I mean, anymore, I don't know. I'm sure you feel like this. Like you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm doing pretty well. Things are rolling. Like I never thought they would. I never ever thought they would. Not ever. I never ever thought that.
Did you ever think you'd have this big of an IMDb
the other shoe's going to drop, and shit is going to go south.
Yeah.
And now I look at it and I really know it in my heart. I go, things are not ever going to go south. They're only going to get better. Things are only going to improve, and I really have that in my consciousness. And it's been true. Like you wake up every morning, and you're like, this, it feels like it won't, but every other day I've had success with, like, I've gotten through it and things have been okay. Things are going to be okay. And just that feeling, man, it takes away all that panic that you can live with. I think especially if you grow up in chaos, if you grow up and you're one of those guys that's like, it's just been turmoil forever, so I don't know. There's no consistency with where the wind's blowing from, so I don't know how to base myself, so I feel buffeted around by life. And if you got to train yourself out of that if that's part of what your makeup is. And it was certainly how I felt. And I've just really gotten to a point where I'm on the other side of that, but it takes a lot of proactivity because then you've got to go, well, how do I direct my life instead of letting my life happen to me? When people talk about destiny or faith, and I used to think they were the same thing. And this old Taoist guy would talk about it, and he'd speak of it in terms of fate or destiny. And he'd say, fate is what's going to happen if you just sit on the couch. Life is going to happen to you. He says, and destiny is something you're going to have to fight your fate for. You're going to have to strive to climb over the boulders and to fight for your destiny. And that's a man searching and seeking with his purpose. And now knowing what your purpose is a whole different thing. And so it's like walk towards the next good thing until that becomes evident to you of what it might be. And that's been the thing. And for me, it's just been, in a lot of ways, and like a lot of my experiences have brought me to it, of going, how do you help the guys coming behind you? How can you empower yourself to be the best representation of you can be, so that would be attractive or powerful to somebody behind you, so you can cut the time off of their misery, despair, or negative emotions that they're having? Because those negative emotions, no matter what they are, they don't ever pay any rent. The only kind of negative shit I would look at is I'd go, that dude's bouncing and he's a 40-year-old. Now I'm 28 and I'm bouncing. Does that look awesome? If it doesn't look awesome, you better start moving your feet differently, because if you don't, you end up, and I would just use dudes like that as like that. That's a guy that never smiles. There's what his life looks like at 50. Is that what you're going for? And I would just use other dudes as a template. I go, I'm the same as that. Wherever I put my feet is the difference. And so I got real conscious about where to put my feet. And like, I go, I don't know how to be an awesome fighter, but I know that, all these other guys, I'm like, I'm just going to walk like the way they walk, and I'm going to do that. And so like, I think that's what we all do, is like we mimic excellence as long as we're honest. Because the thing is like my friend I was talking to earlier today was going, oh, honey, you look great. Wear that half shirt or whatever, when she shouldn't wear that half shirt. If you're going to lie to people like that, you don't ever really have a good basis. You don't have that baseline of going, this is in actuality. Because I believe that like that goodness and positivity will work no matter what, but it's got to come. You got to come at it honestly. You know what I mean?
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah. I've got to get more disciplined. I've got to. I've got to do that.
I mean, the things you're saying, for a person that is, and I feel like I've got my shit together, but I don't. In big ways, I don't have my shit together. In big ways, I know I don't have my shit together, and I'm having a hard time fucking reeling it in. But like, you're saying things that are. A lot of things, dude. Fucking like a 22-year-old me would have loved to have heard. Like 22.
That's why I think about writing. Yeah, is for that audience.
Yeah, that's who. And it's a lot of guys that listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, that are working in a thankless job that they're like, I know I'm better than this, but I have to fucking pay rent. I get it, man. I get it. And that's the thing too. Is man. Also, there's an entitlement that I got to speak to with that, because in the fight community, I see it all the time, and guys are like, this is my job. This is fucking what I do. I'm just living for this. I gave up everything for this. And it's like, if you're giving up everything for that thing, you're probably a dickhead. That's really a self-centered way to go about your life. So stop that shit. And other than that, it's also not true. You're just a drama queen. Like, that's the other part of that. You're very dramatic. Awesome. You'll make a great girlfriend for somebody. Like, hilarious. But the thing is like, I worked thankless jobs. I didn't like throwing people out of a bar, having somebody fucking spit at me, or fucking getting somebody's blood on me, or fucking any of that shit. But I did all that stuff because that night job was the only thing that offered me to train twice a day. Like, the thing I loved was the training. It's like comics I know. They don't like to fucking wait tables, or they don't like to do this or that, or why are they working another delivery job and they're always fired? Because, well, they got an opportunity to go on the road, and then they lost their fucking real job, and so it's like those that shake their own tree, we live in this fucking weird balance for a long time of like, we do the thing we have to do because this is the thing that doesn't pay us anything except soul food, and that soul soul food's what we need, and I think a lot of us would kill ourselves if we didn't have that thing to do. Whether you become a known comic or a known fighter or not, like there's that thing that has to get expressed in certain people, I think. And so you just do that thing and fucking suck up and go, God damn, I'm grateful that I had that nightclub job because it allowed me to do this thing that really fed me. And I fucking am so grateful for that, you know? And I think that's a huge part of it, is to live in that appreciation instead of that state of whininess, you know? Because there's no recovery in whininess. There's no getting better.
Yeah. It's my wife. My wife will always say to my daughters, "You got two wolves. You got the good wolf and the bad wolf. Who are you giving food to?" My daughter Eiley, always it's a bad wolf. Fucking,
I like that one that snarls.
Yeah.
That's what. There's this old story I just read that was like there's a dog outside each a door. Doors are identical. The one dog's wagging its tail and happy to see you and da-da-da-da, and scratches his ears and he's just stoked. And the other dog he's like snapping if you get too close to him. He's fucking barking, angry, growling. And then the guy's like, I got to look inside these rooms. And he looks inside the room with the happy dog outside it. And he's like, oh, it's just mirrors. It's all mirrors in here. So, oh, cool. Closes the door. Yeah. And the dog's just seeing happy, smiling. Goes in the other room. It's just mirrors. You know, it's just the same thing. It's like whatever I'm putting in that mirror, the universe, it's like I get that back. You know, it's like I'm sure you find on Twitter and all that stuff, there's very few dickheads. Like, I find a fucking fantastic, welcoming, loving community. And whether it's all the Death Squad guys or fight guys or fucking whoever, all these people out there, especially every one of Duncan Trussell's people, holy shit.
Dude.
Right?
I mean,
but
Duncan
the thing is like, it's not that there's not racist, shitty, homophobic, scarcity-driven people that are out there. But they're not they don't interact in my world. I pretend like they don't even exist. Because then I'm happier. Because, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, I want to answer the guy that I should just block.
Yep.
Well, why am I more attached to the negative guy than the guy that's like, dude, I really loved you on that thing or what? I won't answer him. Yeah. But the guy that said that you suck and your mom's a cunt, like, I'm going to get after that guy. Like,
dude, you're totally right about that. I find myself, and I talk to my therapist about this. Why is it that I draw in these negative comments? I did Barry Katz's podcast. You know Barry Katz?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know who he is, yeah.
I did Barry Katz's podcast, and I feel like I fucking edit myself so much lately, and it's just because I talked to my therapist about this. I have a lot to lose. He's like, if you didn't have anything to lose, how would you speak? And I said, I'd be shouting at whatever the fuck I wanted. And he was like, then be that guy. Don't worry, you're not going to lose it. Nothing's going anywhere. And I had big beef with Jay Moore, and it was a fucking fans pick teams. Barry Katz is on Jay Moore's team, obviously. Barry calls me. I've known Barry forever. He asked me to do his podcast. And part of me was like, okay. And he asked, asked about Jay, and I had nothing bad to say. But I was and by the way, on this podcast, I ended up crying twice. Only because there were really beautiful moments in my life that I'd share with Barry, and I'm not a guy that runs away from emotion. And then Barry at the same time called me an alcoholic and said, when are you going to admit you're an alcoholic? I think was his question. And I was like, the fuck? Why are we doing this here?
What a weird thing to say to a guy.
Let's not do this now. Do it privately in a hotel room.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is if you actually genuinely cared about me, you wouldn't be putting me on blast right here. Like,
It was a weird,
it's a little unmanly.
But it was a very weird podcast. And Ari, I went out to lunch with Ari the next day, and I talked breakfast, and I talked the whole breakfast about it with Ari. And Ari's like, Bert, don't worry about it. Literally, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it now. It's a podcast. And number two, who gives a fuck if you cry twice? And they're both about really great things that happen to me. It's positive.
That's beautiful then, because that's all. That's great.
And I never said anything negative about Jay. I've never said anything negative about Jay. But I knew that there's two camps that are waiting to attack. One's waiting to attack me. So literally, Barry texts me, says the podcast is going out at 12:01, and I'm like, okay. So I go to first thing in the morning, and I got a fucking meeting at CBS after this. I go to don't worry about it. It's a man cave. I go to the Twitter the first thing in the morning, and I start scrolling for negative shit. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I looking for negativity? Like, this isn't... I literally walked in the man cave and I went, what am I doing looking for negativity? Right. And there was none. There was
rad.
And it was and I listened to the podcast, and there's uncomfortable moments, but it
doesn't read as powerful as you felt like it was.
And it's because it was an intimate conversation, and it was in front of some people, and all of it seems fair, and it was all positivity. And I was like, man, no one's looking for the negativity. Maybe people are changing. Maybe I've never blocked anybody.
It's not even that people are changing. I don't think it's like you control the flow of it.
Yeah,
you're leading whatever the train is by whatever it is you're doing. That's what I'm finding. It's like there's this weird thing that's happening, and technologically it helps us with the way we're advancing so quickly, I think. But there's like a pulling the future into the present, a pulling whatever reality it is into yourself. And that's why it's so nice to not attach to negativity and to just block that stuff out, because it's really irrelevant. Does it feed me? Does it pay me? Is it going to make me happier? Is it going to help the people that I love around me? If it doesn't, then I ignore it.
You're right. Pulling the future into the present, and negativity's dragging the past behind you.
Yeah, and you just cut that loose and you're free.
Yeah.
You get free. And the thing about crying and all that shit is like, if anything reads in this world, even through Twitter comments, it's authenticity. Like, people can fucking see that. If you're in front of a camera, that's what makes a good actor or a bad actor.
Yeah.
Like, is he pretending authentically? Like, which means, is he really there? Is he really tricked his own mind into being that character right now in this place? Like, or being on stage. It's like, are you, like, be uncommitted to a bit and go and do it. Let me know how it goes.
I've been there.
You know what I mean? It's like being uncommitted to a shot in wrestling, like a double leg. It's like, I can teach you distance, changing your level. I can teach you which leg to push off of, but I can't teach you how to commit. And if you don't believe in that shot and you don't commit, then you'll never take anybody down. You know what I mean? And that becomes the thing too, is like getting my own definitions for things. Because I used to be like, oh, commitment. Like, you'd read on Facebook and some silly bitch is going, get yourself a real man that likes commitment and all this shit. And fuck, I'm taking her definition. She doesn't even know what that is. But really and truly, when I look at it, anything in life, if you're not committed, and whether that's your woman, it's like what grass. People always talk about the grass always greener. The grass is greener where you fucking water it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like, and one of my old teachers, he'd be like, he's like, I would just diminish her, and I would be like, look at my wife. I can't believe she wore that dress, or is she flirting with that guy? And anytime I thought any negative thought, that got bigger. Anytime I go, God, her eyes are so bright. She looks just like the young girl that I started dating. And this is an old man telling me all this. And the more I looked at her great attributes about the lilt of her voice, about all that stuff, the more beautiful she got forever and ever and ever into where we are now. And, like, those are the things. It's like, what am I focusing on? And when I focus on that good, and I focus on your good and the good of fucking, pushing that movement toward, like, that's why I say I don't want a business, man. I want a movement. I want a movement of because that's the only thing that's saving us. Like,
yeah.
Like, whether it's any corporations or whether it's anything, the only way we're all getting saved is by being together and going, no, there's a unification here, and we're not separate. We're not so different. And when we can get in those likenesses, that's when we become brothers, in all that way. And any of that hatred and shit and all that stuff, all that negative stuff is just fear. But it comes from not wanting to check ourselves. And that not wanting to check ourselves is not wanting to know who we are. And, like, wanting to know who we are is the thing. And so you got to take yourself out of who you think you are. And so that was what I was really grateful for, is like, me didn't become me because I contrived an idea and a path to do it. Me became me because I burnt roads down. And I go, here we are, and this looks like the end of this. And I'm not a coaster. And so then I go, okay, well, you got to go to the next thing. And now go to L.A. You got no money in your pocket. Nobody knows who the fuck you are. You don't matter to anybody. Who are you now? Who are you with nothing?
Who are you with nothing?
Who are you when you've dissolved to nothing? You've become, you're irreducible. What is the irreducible part of yourself that cannot be reduced anymore? Whether it's your soul or whatever that thing is, what is that thing? What does it stand for? What ground does it have? Does it need to defend anything? And that was the other thing. One of my fucking teachers, he'd go, we were reading this book together. I go, you got to know, like, what does this mean? Like, where does this come up? I've heard a bunch of different iterations of this. And he goes, oh, I don't have any answers for that, kid. I go, you one of the wisest guys I know. You got it. He goes, nah. He says, I quit having answers a long time ago. He says, every time I had an answer, I had ground I had to defend. He says, I prefer having questions, and then the whole world opens up to me.
Jesus Christ.
And it's dudes like that. It's like that kind of thinking that's colored me into going, what's really important? Defending this idea? Or else would you rather be loving or would you rather be right? That's a big thing that comes up a lot. Whenever I get, my panties in a bunch about something, it's like I'm trying to be right or defend something. And it's like, I want to be happy, man. And I want you to be happy. I don't need somebody to be wrong. Like, that's all some shit. Like, whenever that stuff comes up for me, that's my 6-year-old that lives inside me that's calling the shots on a 240-pound body, which is ridiculous. It looks silly. And I just go, you got to stop it, Tate. You look ridiculous. I mean, it becomes like that's the value of that is it becomes laughable. It's like, oh, okay, that is silly. That's just silly. Yeah.
What's a day look like for you? Like, because I'm trying to based on what all of this information's coming on what I know of you through podcasts and through Instagram.
Pictures on Instagram.
And it's so interesting. It's like every time I look at, I knew you were sober. And now that as soon as you started talking about as soon as you said Michigan, and I knew you're from New Mexico, but as soon as you said Michigan, I remembered hearing you tell that story before, and I was like, okay, yep. But like, what do you like? Are you one of those wake up at 6 a.m. kind of guy?
No, I mean, if I have to,
yeah.
If they're paying me, I'm up. You know what I mean? And I wasn't always that guy. I had to work into that. I'm a guy that let guys down and all that. And it's like, so I had to kind of, yeah, man. Like, I had a lot. I used to. This guy typified it perfectly for me, and he goes, "You're the kind of guy that." You feel like you got a lot of high values, and that you're honest, you're reliable, you're loyal, like all these kinds of high values. He says, but I would have you consider, Tate, that those aren't really actualized values. Those are things that you would like to think that you are, because you lie to your girlfriend, you're not really cash register honest all the time. You're like, so he'd point out these little chinks in the armor of who I thought I was, and so like I look at like that kind of stuff too a lot, and I go, okay, I'm a guy that I think the world's judging me based on my intentions, while the world's judging me based on my actions, right? Because I think I'm this guy, but I'm acting like this guy, and I don't understand why you don't like this guy that I'm not acting like, but that I'm thinking that I am. And I play this weird mind fuck on myself in that way, and I see that I'm not the only one that suffers from that.
Dude, I got that. Like, I feel like I'm the most honest person, but I'm not. Like, I feel like I am the most honest person. But I bite my tongue in a lot of situations, and I may be honest partially with myself about who I am,
right? But
for the most part, I don't think I realize how sometimes out of control I get. Like, my biggest problem right now is drinking on planes. Like, on
planes.
Yeah, not in life. Like I get very easily
nervous on planes, or
because I get nervous and I've given myself a pass.
Right.
Like, I've given myself a pass because I know I'm nervous and I know it calms me down. But the problem is,
and it's a ritual now at this point.
Now it's a ritual,
yeah.
and I got to my rope's end in I forget where the fuck I was. I was in an airport bar, and I had landed already, and I was still drinking, and I was just like, and I was waiting for my crew, so my whole crew's coming in after me, but I'm still drinking in the bar, just putting back and waiting, casually drinking, knowing full well that this has been a full day of flying, and that this will be a full day of drinking now for me, and I'm going to dinner with them, and I'm going to drinking at dinner, and then I'm going to fucking feel taxed about it tomorrow with my blood pressure, with my hangover, with my dehydration, with everything.
And you have to work the next day.
And I got to work the next day, and I know that. I'm knowing that.
So you're going to give the people that are paying you the very best.
Don't say that out loud. and so I'm like, I literally said, I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm like, not the flying. I'm not going to die on a plane. Fucking drinking on planes is going to kill me. This is going to be how
trying to be relaxed while I'm on the plane. That's going to kill me.
And so I said, I called my manager. I sent an email to my manager, my wife, and another manager I have, and I said, in December I'm going to be taking flying lessons. I'm going to learn how to fly a plane, and it's going to cost like $12,000. It's money that is not like just sitting around the house. But I said, but if this helps me get over my fear of flying.
Yeah, but you can pay that off too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or
yeah.
write it off.
I'm sure.
Because that's part of
my
your
manager's
thing.
like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Don't fucking
of
worry
course.
about it. If this gets you to stop drinking on planes, because I fly 200,000 miles a year.
Yep.
So if this gets you to stop drinking on planes, then it's fucking worth it. And you'll start the lessons in December. You'll finish them, and maybe just getting you started the lessons will help you. But I don't. I'm like you said. I really am a pretty in control guy, but I fucking spin out. I spin out when I get. Man, like today, I'm getting on a plane tonight at midnight. I have a meeting at like 4. After the meeting at 5, everyone will be over at my house. And I just bought a bottle of Tito's because I know, well, if I got a midnight flight, if I start drinking around 7, and then I'm like, fuck, and then it's a red eye, and then just guess what? I run a 5K the next day, like tomorrow. So so I'm like, but it's like I can't. I always say I'm in control. I can't control that fucking panic flight. Maybe I can. Maybe I'm not uncomfortable with the comfortableness of it. Maybe I'm just not. I don't know what it is, but I cannot. I'm not a mess on the plane. Like I'm not
You're awake the whole time.
No.
Go to sleep.
Like tonight, I'll be awake the whole time on the plane. I'll be awake the whole time on the plane. And by the way, just to put it in perspective, I'm not like wolfing down 11 drinks. I'm having just every time they come by and ask for a beer,
You're saying
I say yes. and I don't, and I'm not like one more, and then on fucking don't even talk about like flights to Vietnam. I'm a fucking that's like I got to micromanage how the fuck I'm going to drink for 33 hours.
Wow.
So like I was just like I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm still afraid of flying, but I got to get over the fear. I've got to get over the fear.
I feel like it's great. You're in a great spot because in a huge way you go, I know what I don't like. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's great information.
And it's not. And my thing with drinking is like I didn't drink all week. I don't need to drink at all.
Right.
I don't even. Sadly, I'm out of the taste of beer lately. I just don't like beer. And beer is what I usually liked. And I have no interest in making a mixed cocktail at fucking 7 at night. Or even opening a bottle of wine. So all I see right now are calories.
Right.
So like, it's not drinking is my problem. It's these situations where drinking has been the cure.
Right.
Like getting done my show at the Improv and going, now's when I have a drink. Like it's these situations where it's just been ingrained in me.
I think in some things then, if that's you're talking about being habitualized, then you go, what would I like my life to look like? And I always tell dudes this, I'm like, go through like in 6 months, a year and a half, 3 years, 6 years, and have that timeline and pick your criterion, whatever you'd like it to be. Who do you want to be fucking? Who do you want to be living with? What's your house look like? What's your climate? What do you do every day? Do you work out every day? Are you living close to your gym? Where are you at? Where do you work out to do comedy every day? What's your food look like every day? And do that for all those times. And what's your bank account look like? And what are your goals that you want? Like, write all that shit out and go, are my daily actions building the bridge to this place that I want to go?
Dude, I wrote that. You can't see it because it says Daddy right behind it. But right behind it says 5 years from today, what are you going to wish you had done today?
Yeah.
Because I always think that 5 years from today.
It's not the mountains that are troublesome.
Right.
It's not climbing the mountains. We'll chew that shit up. It's the little anthills that we trip over.
Dude, anyone can climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Easy
Any
deal.
human being can climb Mount. It's not a technical mountain. It just takes time. You just got to, it takes 5 fucking days to acclimate. It's not tough. It's just a hike. And that's the way
But we minimize the importance of those little things daily because we go, oh, well, I just want to have a little taste of cheesecake or whatever. And you go, is that towards my goals? And when you run it through intellectually, you've got to get there, and then you've got to supplant that with something else that's going to be positive that gets you off the way that taste of cheesecake does. Whether that's jerking off or doing 10 push-ups or fucking whatever the fucking thing
10 push-ups is so fucking healthy.
You know what I mean?
I'm in a cleanse, not in a cleanse, but like, so what I do usually when I come home is I'm very strict about diet because I'm not on the road. It's a juice in the morning, like a Vitamix juice in the morning. 2 snacks on either side of lunch.
What are the snacks?
Rice cakes with almond butter or rice cakes with avocado. Those are actually my exact 2 snacks.
Yep.
Half an avocado on rice cakes or almond butter on rice cakes with maybe a little bit of that the agave to make it taste good. And then today I had chicken breast in a lettuce wrap with half a roasted red pepper on it with a little bit of sriracha. And then tonight for dinner, I'll probably have some salmon and some vegetables. Or I'll have a juice. If I feel good, I'll just have a juice.
Do you feel satisfied with all that stuff?
I don't. You want to know what's real crazy?
Tell me.
You know what satisfies me is watching myself not reward myself.
Wow.
It's a weird feeling, and I had to explain it to my daughters the other night.
It's going to feel so good when you don't drink when you get off the show then.
Yeah. It's fun to feel the reptilian part of your brain go like,
I'm in control of this organism.
Like, grab that little Snickers. And then
Right.
you're just like, fuck that. Like,
Right.
and don't eat it. Don't touch it.
Right.
And then you walk away from the Snickers, little tiny Snickers, snack size. And you're like, what? Because my brain so often just says, go reward yourself. Go, like,
Right.
like just the littlest things. Like, yesterday I'm walking down the street, walking back from a meeting, and I saw a dispensary. And my brain goes, my brain just says it. And I would never do this. Normally I'd never do this. But my brain is in this reward mode. He goes, let's get high this afternoon. And then I go, what? And he was like, and then my brain was like, because I definitely can't do that because I have another meeting, and I wouldn't do that.
Don't they expect? I would figure they would expect you to be high at those meetings.
What's so funny is I think people think I'm fucked up everywhere I go.
Right.
Like, I did a pitch over at a network the other day, and I took my shirt off for it. Like I was like, fuck it, and everyone laughed. It's funny, but I guarantee you they're like, man, he must have come in hammered.
Right.
Like, that's what they assume. I bring a drink on stage with me. I never drink on stage. I never, like I have gotten drunk on stage before, trust me. But, like, I usually bring a drink on stage, don't finish it first show. Second show, I bring another drink on stage. I'll finish that second show.
Right.
But, like, everyone assumes I'm always fucking hammered.
Crazy.
What is really cool right now, what I'm feeling is, like, rewards. Like, not giving myself rewards. Just to stop myself, to notice how often, to be cognizant of how often my brain goes, I open there's this pasta in the fridge that I made the girls the other night. It is so fucking good. It looked so good, and the girls loved it, and there's just so much butter and olive oil in it, and there's peas and cheese, and I every time I open it, my brain goes, eat some, and I'm like, no. But to witness that, it's fucking bizarre.
So, like, the thing is like when you choose foods, as far as like what the function of your body is like, yeah. I think I want to be satisfied. But like the things, and you talk about heart disease and like platelets and growth and like what happens with like how does that form in plaques and how does that become a thing?
Yeah.
And people always used to say that it's cholesterol and it's fats, right? Now there's a great book out called The Myth of Cholesterol. And so what's a sating hormone is like glucagon, and that it comes from like proteins, and fats are very sating, and carbohydrates are like they make your body produce insulin, right? And that's a storage hormone. So every carbohydrate that you got to think your stomach is an indiscriminate vat of acid. So whether you're eating a gang of broccoli or whether you're eating a Snickers bar, it's saying it's the same shit. That's a carbohydrate, right? So insulin comes out. Now, of course, there's fiber in broccoli. It's a lower amount. It's much lower on the glycemic index and all that kind of stuff. But like, I used to think I was eating healthy all the time, and I'd be like, man, I just can't make it through practice. And a guy told me years later, he goes, well, what would you eat? And I go, well, I'd eat like an orange, and then I'd have like a bowl of oatmeal, and I'd cut up a banana on there, and I'd have a glass of orange juice. And he'd say, okay, so you're having a ball of sugar, a glass of sugar with a bowl of sugar with sugar on top of it.
Yeah.
Like that's what your body, and so you're either a sugar burner or a fat burner. So you can either burn and metabolize fats exogenously, or you can burn sugars. But when you burn through sugars, it only stores in your blood. Like your blood sugar is where your energy comes from. Then after that's out, you get hypoglycemic, you get down, and you need to eat again. And so like. That was after I stopped fighting, but I started to retrain my body then to just access fats as and how you do that is you just don't eat any carbs for like 4 days, and your body will switch and it'll start to access fats and change the construct of your body, how it metabolizes food. And so then you feel bad for 2-3 days, but then I just eat high fats and I eat low sugars, low carbohydrates, like less than 100 grams a day. But you can still eat a plate of broccoli. Like a lot goes, if you eat a tub of popcorn, that's like 90 grams of carbohydrates. But I just don't eat a ton of carbs and high fats and stay energized. And a friend, my cholesterol went up when I did that. Went from like 100 to like 280 or something. And,
Really?
And I go, hey, what's this about? And this guy, Dr. Pakel, hit me back, and he was heart medicine. He was a cardiologist. And he said, I was a vegetarian for a long time, and so I'd look at my heart and I'd study it. And I'd have little speed bumps like that were shrinking my arteries, and I could measure the millimeters of my artery wall, and I felt like shit. I was, 15, 20 pounds overweight all the time, and I was a vegetarian. I was doing the healthiest thing possible. I switched to a paleo diet. I instantly felt better. My energy went through the roof. A couple years later, I'm down. I'm fit in a way that I hadn't been since I was in college, and I do an ultrasound of my heart again, and all those plaques were gone, and my artery walls were thinner and more malleable, and my cholesterol was at 300 then from 100, and then he turned me on to this book, the Myth of Cholesterol, and started talking about that. And he said, well, one of the reasons why is the first thing that they could mark in the blood was cholesterol. That's the first thing that they could take out, and they could use it as a marker. And so then they go, well, there's people that die of heart disease. They've got cholesterol in their blood, and they said that there was causation there, but there wasn't any. And there was no correlative data to say that was a causation of this. But it was the first thing they did, and then they say, well, how can we reduce the cholesterol? And so then they started making statins, and that became a huge pharmaceutical thing. And then, nobody makes diseases up like the pharmaceutical companies. They make illnesses where there are none and give you a pill to cure what ails you, and then that causes a side effect that you need this. And it's a fantastic business model if your only concern is making money and not having any help for people.
It's like
right?
Chris Rock said, there's no money in the cure.
Right.
The money's on the
exactly,
comeback.
man. And so, yeah, right. And so, like, that's kind of where we're at. And so that was kind of the thing also with Keith and Lacey and I started this company, and when we started looking at that, is we go, well, what's real empowerment for people? Because if you're listening to the FDA or somebody like that, they don't have your best interest in mind. They've got the best interests of the corporations that are funding them, and that's it. You've got Barack Obama appoints the guy that was the head of Monsanto to be the head of the FDA. Like that happened about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So the guy that's the CEO of Monsanto is now the head of the Food and Drug Administration that is supposed to be our watchdog so that people and companies don't sell us cancer. Like, I mean, it's like it's so all that stuff is out the window. Like, our government is just in the shadow of corporations, and that's the dominion we live under. So, like, you got to do your own research into all that and go, well, what is true about my body if I'm looking for actualized health? And can I eat my way into that health, or am I going to be following whatever the directions were, where they say, yeah, eat 8 parts of pasta and carbohydrates and a little bit of meats and fats, and then great, that's a great recipe for heart disease, is what they find, because it's inflammation. And what causes inflammation are sugar and gluten, really. Like, they cause huge inflammation in your body, and arthritis, and inflammation is what causes heart disease.
Dude, I think I'm becoming arthritic.
If you go gluten and sugar free, like completely, your fucking body is going to be feeling way different in a month from now. 100%. You'll lose belly fat. You'll be like, it's a different world that you're living in. And then also your moods even out. You don't have these highs and lows. Like when your body's craving and calling to that Snickers, you don't have that anymore. You've trained yourself outside of that. And so what's a meal like for somebody that eats like that? How about fucking eggs Benedict with no bread, just fucking Canadian bacon, a bunch of poached eggs with hollandaise drenched all over it with bacon on the side. That's fucking a sating, wonderful breakfast. Like, that's what I eat.
That's fucking amazing.
You know what I mean? It's like but you get to make choices like that based on that knowledge.
Yeah, I've always eaten egg whites and got rid of the yolk, but
all the good stuff, all the health is in the yolk. Like, all the nourishment is in the yolk.
Yeah, and the other day my dad goes, "Oh, buddy, yolks aren't that bad." My dad's been telling me for fucking years, stay away from the fucking yolks. And then he's like, "The yolks aren't that bad." I was like, "Dude, we just bought a chicken coop.
Awesome.
And it's in the back of our truck. The chickens come on Saturday.
Oh, that's great.
I guess the temperature's right for them to live in the garage as chicks. And then
that is awesome.
We got a chicken coop, and I'm going to be fucking eating eggs like crazy.
Fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah, I love eggs. I really genuinely love eggs.
I love them, too. I used to live right over here on Moore Park.
Are you doing
I don't know
really?
how close you were, yeah.
What's the gym you train at?
I train in Venice at a place called Deuce, and then
and that's like that's I just know this from the pictures,
Sure.
but like it seems like an avant-garde kind of gym. Like there's just
It's like
interesting strength training.
Really interesting. It's like they do everything. Their modicum they started off of was out of CrossFit. They're all old CrossFit athletes. Some went to the games. Logan Gelbrick that runs it. He you can find him at Functional Coach, and he's fucking badass, man. One of my best friends, and he used to play professional baseball, and he and a couple people started it, and then they really got into doing like strongman lifts, like odd-shaped objects, and
That's so interesting.
and like kegs and cement balls, like Atlas stones and yoke carries, and like with the idea of fitness, like what is that, and like then are you talking about, am I doing this for aesthetics or am I doing this for health? What is my whole thing here?
I'm only doing it for health.
Yeah,
Not that I could give two fucks what I look like. I would love to look good, but I'm only doing it for health.
Well, what's great is like you start to work towards your health in that way. Like there's a guy that came in once. He's like, I just want to get bigger arms, and I'm like, I thought that's fucking weird. Like, because I'd always been the only reason I was in athletics is like I want to be able to punch you in the face faster and harder or whatever. You know, I'm looking for results and performance. Like
it's that Fight Club shit.
That's what I'm looking for.
Like, why are you cutting your fingernails so they don't bend back in a fight?
Right. And so I'm only looking to cut down any kind of malfunction that might be there, and I'm looking to how can I really get pinpoint with my performance.
Ronda Rousey said that in her "Do Nothing Bitch" speech.
Yeah,
she said, every muscle in my body's
has a use.
Yeah. I love that.
It's huge, man. And so this kid's telling me this, and I go, and then I'm like, well, be kind to him. He just doesn't know anything, And I go, well, we got to have a goal. So, Mark, how big would be big enough? Like, he's like, well, I don't know. I go, well, what's it for? And I go, I know to look good. I know you don't want to sound like an asshole and say that, but you want to look a certain way.
Yeah.
But like, he goes, well, what do you think about it? I go, I want to move beautifully through time and space for as long as I can. And whether that's walking on my hands across the room or whether that's being able to do a muscle up or whether that's whatever that is, I want to be able to utilize this body towards a function as well as it can do for as long as I can do it. So I'm not willing to shortchange myself by getting a whole bunch of gains today that then I'm going to regret later or something like that. I want to be able to use this for as long as I can. And that's it. That becomes my goal. And so like you got to know what your goal is in order to get somewhere. Otherwise, we're just flailing in the water. It's like if we were going to just dump you in the ocean and you're going to be like, I don't know, just to be wet. And you're gonna drown for sure, right? Or you're like, no, I want to be in the ocean because I want to get to that island, and then we can swim and we can mark that place, right?
I want to be wet. Well, we'll see in a little bit.
Yeah, right.
I was, as you're saying that, I was like, my goal is to be able to put on my shoes and tie them and not be uncomfortable.
I want to be able to get my foot up without having to grab it and pull it or whatever.
Getting out of bed
Simple
is really
shit.
But the most in shape I've ever been is when I first met my wife. I was 186 pounds, and I'd worked for it. I'd worked very hard for it. Spin class every single day, 2 workouts a day. Spin class in the morning, hike at night at sunset. I also had money and didn't have a job, so I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. And so. And I remember, like you said, when you said that, move effortlessly through this life, I remember a sunset jogging down Runyon Canyon down the spine where the steps are and feeling great. And I thought, this is why you work out, so you feel great. So as you run, you're like, I feel fucking awesome.
Right.
Like I'm not winded. Like today I got up, I periscoped it, but like I was like, I know I'm still in shape. I'm fat as fuck. I'm not the fattest. 3 days ago I was the fattest I've ever been. And that's what got me like fucking strict on diet. And I got on there and I was like, I can still run a fucking 3-minute half mile. So I fucking pounded it out.
That's sick.
And I put it on an 8 and just murdered it and was like, I can do this. I know I can fucking do this. But the truth is, I just want to move effortlessly through life. I don't want to, getting up, I don't want it to be difficult. I don't want to be sitting and eating dinner with someone and going, my jeans hurt.
Right.
Like
or walking through an airport and being like, I just got to rest for a minute.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, you see guys like that and you're like, holy fuck, this is why you have to have that cart.
Yeah. And like you say, you need to be honest with yourself. So many people are not honest. I wasn't. I still, maybe I'm not in that, well, I'm a big guy. I'm a comic. It's all for comedic.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
It's what's true is.
Wasn't that Jonah Hill or somebody that went?
Jonah Hill's, I think he's, by the way, and I'm not, Oh, that's
Who
what
was it? There was one of those guys that was a fatter guy, and then he lost weight, and even his agent was like, "You're not going to be as funny. We're not going to be able to book you as much." Like
Yeah.
people were talking shit about it. Like, here's a guy wanting to be healthy, and you're trying to. That's crazy.
It's crazy, and by the way, he won the fucking Oscar when he lost, but while the weight was off, in fucking Moneyball.
Yeah,
so
Brad,
fuck his agent. But Jonah Hill has recently gained twice the weight that he had on before. Yeah, he looks really. Doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look happy.
It's
Maybe
a shame,
he is,
man.
but it's a shame because he's so fucking talented.
Yep.
And I was thinking about this today, like celebrating people's misery. I saw a picture of him, and I went, in a weird way, I went like, oh, like I got like, oh fuck, like, and then I stopped myself and I went, whoa, no, hold on, I love this guy's acting.
Is it because it gives you a free pass? Then you're like, wow, fuck, look at him. I'm not that bad.
Maybe it's the fact that this society that we're in loves the witch hunt. We love the fucking witch hunt. It's heavier than a rooster. It's a fucking witch. Like that's primal in in Americans, I guess. But like I saw him and I went. I don't know what it was, but there was a flutter, and then I went, whoa, what the fuck is that? And I literally sat down and I wrote about it, and I tried to write like what is
cool.
it? What is it that just made me flutter? What is it that makes people attack? People when they say something and like I heard one guy say something on ESPN about gays as a football player, and I was like, oh fuck, like and then I'm like, wait, whatever, that's that guy. Why, like, what am I getting outraged for? And then I literally sat and tried to write about Jonah Hill, and I was like, I fucking love this guy. Like, he makes me laugh hard as fuck. He's one of my favorite actors. And I want him to be around forever,
right,
so that I can always enjoy him. He'll just get better, and I'll just appreciate it more. And then I was like, fuck, like, I care about Jonah Hill.
Even if he doesn't ever act again, beyond all of whatever I get out of him, I would like him to be healthy and fucking be able to, like, I'd love his mom to be able to enjoy him for the rest of her life, too. Or whatever the thing, it's like, that, yeah. Yeah,
I have so much. What time? I have a fucking conference call starting soon, but like, there's so much I want to know about you that I haven't gotten to ask you.
We'll get it.
Real quick, tell me what cold press coffee is.
Well, cold brew coffee, most
that's it. Cold brew coffee.
Most coffee is done through a heat exchange and through hot water, near boiling water, like 186 degrees or something, over beans that have been ground, and then you extract the nutrients or the nourishment out of the bean from that end. Cold brew, and it increases acidity a lot, so you get like a little bitterness with every coffee, right?
This doesn't have that.
This doesn't have it because it's cold, and so all our extraction is a cold method. It's all cold ice water that draws it out over like a 14 or 16 hour period. And so what you can do with a hot, like, when you make coffee typically at your house, you can do that in a couple of minutes. This is a very meticulous, long process to extract all the flavor out of the bean that doesn't have any acidity or any kind of bitter aftertaste or anything. I mean, it changes, like, people that would drink milk and sugar in their coffee are like, this is great, just like this.
I want to give one to my wife to see if she likes it.
I brought a bunch here.
Oh, okay. You're the person that introduced me to a lot of my coffee.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, all of it, I'd say. Well, you via Rogan, like cold brew coffee, I'd never heard of until I heard Caveman Coffee ads.
Yeah.
And I had a cold brew coffee at Rogan doing a podcast.
Right
and
on.
I felt perfect, and I love the taste of it.
Yeah.
The Dave Asprey kind of
the Bulletproof coffee.
was from you
with the butter and all
that.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that before, and then I know the Dave Asprey thing kind of fell apart.
It's so cool, I think, too, man. I just saw Dave had a thing.
Is he good or bad?
Well, I think he's an insane guy. I helped him a lot, like Joe did too, like to whatever we could. But then I was like, when he started dancing in certain realms, I was just like, hey, man, you shouldn't probably do that, and like maybe you want to think of this a different way. And he's a guy that thinks he's Jesus kind of now, and he's a guy that was like, apparently used to be a fat guy that hacked his own body or whatever that is, and now he's not, and now he pretends he's a scientist, which he's also not. And there's a guy that worked for him, this 15-year-old kid that lives in Austin now, that did a lot of did all his research, and then Dave would be like, no, color it this way and do this and that. And then it's like, it just became a thing where it's like, where I said inauthenticity reads. And I go, you're going into these things and you're trying to be this big corporate dude, and like, this is robbing you of what your real beauty is, what the real love of this whole movement is. And so anyway, whatever. But it's nice in the way that there's a message that's out there that people are going, okay, maybe fats aren't bad for you, and maybe you can be empowered in a different way, and maybe there's this new conversation. And so any new company that's out there that's doing that, I'm for those guys. I want those guys to do well.
I used to make them. My dad's so funny.
I do it with goat butter. Is what I fucking. It's got a different taste to it, and it's a little salty, and I love it. So I make mine in the morning. Like I'll blend goat butter and our MCT with it, and fucking rad, man.
My dad. I want to say I heard you in Rogan's old studio, having one with Rogan or talking about it.
When we were up in Pasadena.
And I went, wow. And then I go home, and my dad's like, buddy, have you heard of this Bulletproof coffee?
It's awesome.
And literally I said, how does my dad know Tait Fletcher? I was like, and then I started making them, but I was doing, like, here's my problem. And it's excess always. I was doing, like, double the recipe and then in a big fucking growler.
Yeah.
And then murdering it. And it was full. I mean, literally energy through the day. It was so fucking great.
So long lasting, man.
It's so long lasting. It is. And
when you mix the fats in there, and I think also like MCT is a thing, like it's derived from coconut oil. It's but it won't solidify. It's just a smaller molecular level than pure coconut oil. But it'll transfer the blood-brain barrier, and so you'll absorb parts of the caffeine and the nootropics of coffee in a different way than you ever had before when you start messing with that.
Good. It really changed it. And then, man, I gotta have you back on.
I'd love to, man.
And what I'd love to do, and I haven't done this in a really long time, but I'd love to have you over. Like, I'm going to be around all December. Okay. And I'd like to have you over maybe when, like, with Duncan and Ari or Joey, or like
so nice,
just do a group. Joe's so hard to lock down. He's so busy.
Of course.
But
whenever I want to talk to him anymore, he's like, well, why don't you come do my podcast? Or so it's like, I'm like, hey, bro, you want to go get lunch or something? Well, come do the pod. Like, that's the time that he can hang out with people. Literally at this point, it's like when we go do a fight companion or something. And then we go eat after. Like, that's the time we get to hang out.
He said
he's a busy dude.
I said to him, I said, I've always wanted to have you on my podcast. I'm always afraid to ask. I know you're busy as shit. And he's like, well, fuck, why don't you just come over? We'll do your podcast and my podcast, then we'll do my podcast. And I was like, of course, I'd love to.
Right.
But, like, it's the truth. I call him up, and I'm like, dude, what are you up to? Let's do something. And it's always, let's podcast first. But it's busy. He's just one of those guys, man. He's stepping his own direction, and it's inspiring. It really is.
Well, and then it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh no, I'm now. He's become such an avid hunter and an outdoorsman that he's I'm gonna get an elk this week, or I'm gonna go shoot pigs in Texas, or like there's all that, So yeah, man, it's super interesting following that, but then how to fit into it, but then going literally anything is possible. Like when I said, he goes, dude, you got to start doing a podcast, Tate. And this is a couple years ago, and I go, I don't know, like.
Wait, don't you have a podcast?
Yeah.
I was just listening to it. I want. Don't say.
Pirate life.
Yeah,
but I don't like. I've been so like remiss in the regularity of it and all that stuff. But the thing that really turns me on about it is that you reach guys that are in Indiana or that are wherever that are like these like-minded dudes that are going. They go, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
There's dudes out there that aren't. That's not predicated on like. Overtone of violence or aggression, or like, and especially like when there's like dudes like Joe or somebody like that that's out there that is like this uber alpha male type, and they're like, wow, but there's a kindness there, and that's better than being aggressive. Like what, like things that do, like if you're a little dude, you might not know. You only go to the most powerful dude in the neighborhood, and you're like, if that dude happens to be a skinhead, or that dude happens to be a violent gang member, or that dude happens to be your stepdad that beats up your sister. Maybe that's the guy that you aspire to be like. And to offer something different to people and go, no, you can be free. Like, it's like, you ever listen to Alan Watts?
No.
Oh, God, I got to YouTube. Like, he's tremendous. And he asked that question. You brought it up earlier. Like, he posits it and goes, what if you didn't need money to do work? Like, what if all that was taken care of? What would you do then? Who would you be then? And it's like, be that. Because that's the thing that will ultimately nourish you, whether it's money or however that construct looks like. Do that thing. That's what the world needs. The world doesn't need a carbon copy of what was yesterday. And so, like, when you're talking about with your therapist and stuff like that, and you don't need to censor yourself. I think I need to censor myself in the way that I don't want to make people unduly uncomfortable around me. However, I need to speak freely, and I need to find a way to say that then that's palatable, regardless if there is a disagreement about it. You know, and I think I think it's so important because that is, as a comic, man, you're a renegade. Like, that's what people want, is your authentic self. They don't want to bite their tongues. They sure as fuck don't want to hear you bite your tongue.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's such an important part. There's this guy. I was in this group home for a while, and like leading groups in it. And he goes, dude. He goes, you just got to be you, because.
Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. Give me 1 sec. Hello. Hello. Hey, Leah, I'm just wrapping up a podcast, okay? All right, can I call back in? Okay, I'll be done in 5 minutes. All right, bye. Sorry about that.
No worries.
No. So wait, you were what was he saying? I really apologize about that.
You know that like that whole thing about you know, being your authentic self and going into that whole realm is that, like, he's like, these guys need you. They don't need an idea of, like, who you think you are. Don't pretty up who you are, Tate. He says, because for every fucking nut that walks in the door, there's a wrench here that fits it. And, like, you've got your story to tell, he's got his story. And if the whole thing is about helping the guy coming behind you, if you're pretending you're somebody you're not, then that nut that walks in the door isn't going to recognize you as his wrench. You got to be you, man, and that's the thing, you know, because then the lesson isn't that I'm living for myself. The lesson is that I'm living for fucking whatever's out there, because I need all of us to win. I need us all to do well.
Because no one's lying to themselves as they lay in bed. Right. They're lying to themselves in public. And if you be honest with who you are, then, dude, I just wish you were older than me, like by 20 years, so that I could go, dude, can I be your little brother? But I'm just a year fucking younger than you.
It's such a beautiful life, man. And I never thought it would be.
I'm genuinely blessed to have been put into a circle of people where I can get to know you.
Well, it's so fun. I mean, we've been trying to do this, and I can't wait till the next time. And
one of my favorite things, and I don't know if you meant to say this way, but I say this all the time. Like, you texted me or texted me like twice, and I didn't reply, and you said, I'm starting to get feelings about this, and I fucking have quoted that all the time, because that's how my daughter Isla will talk. Like, hey, like, she always goes, you're tugging on a tiger's tail right now. When I'm starting to get feelings about this, like, it was awesome. So the most beautiful way of going, I understand you've gotten both of these and you haven't replied. I get that, but this one better get a reply, and I will be using that all the fucking time. Nice. Last question, How can people get Caveman Coffee?
cavemancoffee.com.
Can it get shipped to them?
And it'll get shipped, and we have a cold brew concentrate also, which is awesome. And if you live in Los Angeles or New York City or Atlanta, we have there's stores out there, and we're putting up a locations page, because that's just happened. We just hit the ground running kind of in LA, and we're just like old fighters and trainers and shit, and just started this business, so
it's
we're just starting to get ahead of it. And,
it's great coffee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them ship some to our crew so we can travel with it, because this stuff is fucking awesome.
I'll bring you this, and then our cold brew concentrates are fast to travel with. It's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, really easy. Just give me an address, and we'll get you hooked up.
I'm posting this today, Tate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate it, brother.
This episode was brought to you by The Machine.